To the surprise of everybody watching this video and every Blackhawks fan around the world, they have made a trade before the NHL trade deadline. Now, it's not a very big one, but it is a very important one and has a lot of things that we have to think about going on for the rest of this week and until the NHL trade deadline. So we're going to be talking about here this actual trade, as well as what could be for the future of the Blackhawks for the rest of this week and the NHL trade deadline. So before we get into all of that, we know that 78% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're looking for a spot to get all your Blackhawks news as it happens, everything from trades, signings, rumors, reports, you have it all here. Make sure to hit the sub button and join us to get all your news as it happens. But like I said, an absolutely fantastic day for the Chicago Blackhawks. They have finally made a trade. Something to actually, I guess you could say, look forward to in a Chicago Blackhawks perspective. Now, this is a pretty interesting trade, considering the fact that we have not had any information from the Blackhawks, from reporters, from analysts, from anybody regarding what the Blackhawks were going to do at this trade deadline. All we knew is that it was not going to be much, if anything at all. But we have this moments ago. The Blackhawks have traded Anthony Beauvillier to the Predators for a 2024 fifth-round pick. The Blackhawks are not retaining any of Beauvillier's cap hit. Now, I've seen a few reports as well saying this is a fourth-round pick, but majority of them are the fifth. So I'm going to say that it is the fifth. There was very few fourths, but so I'm assuming it is the fifth. The easiest way to say that is the worst of the two, because Anthony Beauvillier, I would say, is not worth a fourth, barely even a fifth, but no. We're lucky we got that. An asset's an asset, a pick is a pick. But Noah, what do you think about this Anthony Beauvillier trade? Just straight off the rip here.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it for Kyle Davidson. Obviously, Beauvillier was a free agent at the end of the year. He probably wasn't going to come back. We've seen that he didn't really sort of fit the team. He got injured for a little bit, and then they chucked him down on the fourth line, and he was struggling. So, I mean, I guess asset management, like you said, ship him out, get at least something for him. He knew he was going to leave in free agency, like I said. So, I guess I kind of like the deal, get something for nothing, I guess.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Anthony Beauvillier realistically should not have been on this team. It was a direct replacement for Corey Perry after the whole situation that occurred earlier this season. Right. So he did his job, I guess you could say, in replacing a veteran, kind of having that veteran leadership in the locker room. But obviously, like you said, he didn't work out. He was injured for a majority of his tenure with the Blackhawks. And I think he was more so a rental into the deadline anyways, just trying to make this team worse as the year goes on and gain a few more assets for this and future drafts going on. So, obviously Anthony Beauvillier, like I said, didn't work out. He likely was going to go. So I got to say, like you said, Kyle Davidson made a great move there. Another reason that it was the Nashville Predators in this case was Barry Trotz. That's kind of the ideal situation here in this for the Nashville Predators, just gaining many more assets to add to this second wildcard team where they are right now to make their way to the playoffs. Interdivisional, that was more so the reason because the Blackhawks are not competitive this year at all. You can see here from this tweet from Tracy Myers. I believe Barry Trotz had Beauvillier when both were with the Islanders. That was the case. Just wondering if that's a factor on the trade. And I would say yes. Either way, all the best to Beauvillier. Predators currently hold the second wild card in the West. So, you kind of get your answer there why that occurred. I would say that this was initiated by the Nashville Predators. But for the fact that the Blackhawks didn't know what they were doing, Noah, do you think this this trade points to more trades coming in the next few days? Well, I guess you could say today and tomorrow for the Chicago Blackhawks, maybe getting rid of a few guys that are on expiring contracts that they know won't return?
Well, I mean, I've voiced, trading Tyler Johnson, trying to get something for him, probably a guy who's probably going to, on the tail end of his career, sorry. But I think they're going to be the third party. You're going to see them be a third party broker, if I'm being honest. I think it's going to be relatively quiet. I don't think they'll move crazy amount of players. If they do, it'll be a Tyler Johnson or something similar to that. I don't think it'll be anything too crazy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think the Blackhawks are going to be the ones to initiate many of these deals. I think it's going to be teams looking for some depth on the offense or the defense, whatnot. I wouldn't say a goalie's going to be moved. Like you said, guys like Tyler Johnson making $5 million, $4.2 million cleared up from Anthony Beauvillier. Obviously, the Blackhawks had about infinite cap you could use anyways for retention in this point, a third-party retention. So they're up to about $45 million now, I believe, just shy of that. So plenty of room to make things happen in this scenario. But one thing I do want to talk about here is that, like I said, it's going to be initiated by other teams. So we have, Tyler Johnson. We have a few of those other guys. Nobody that has signed an extension is going to be traded for the obvious reason. Those guys are kind of there just to guide this team going forward. But I am curious if the Blackhawks are, shopping or looking just at any potential sneaky trades that they could make with a current NHL-ready player just to add to this team. I'm just going to use Trevor Zegras as an example. Trevor Zegras has been on the market for a while, hasn't fully lived up to the potential that the Anaheim Ducks wanted him to. I would say his value is currently at his lowest point, but he's an NHL-ready player. He can certainly come in, help this team. Do you think, Noah, any guys like, Trevor Zegras, just an example, or anybody around that play style, that same situation, is going to be on the table for the Blackhawks for the rest of this deadline?
If I'm being completely honest, I don't mean to be like a downer, but I think Zegras is going to stay with the Ducks. I think they'll figure something out. But in terms of talking about another player of that caliber, I mean, the Blackhawks do have the draft capital. They do have the prospects. They could make a trade, sort of swindle, because I mean that's what a guy like Trevor Zegras is going to command easily. It's going to be high draft picks, high prospects. I mean that's the talent of Trevor Zegras, right? So I mean, I do think the Blackhawks could do that, but I also think they could also lean towards development and make their prospects the best they can be and draft and keep doing that sort of system. So they could, but I'm going to go with no.
I do agree with the Trevor Zegras stance, but I'm just curious as where they have so many draft picks, they have so many prospects right now. These draft picks are pretty solid over the next few years. Like I said in the previous video, I think they have 5 over the next 2 rounds in the next 3 years. So I believe they have 2 first this year, 1 next year, and 2 the year after. Something along the lines of that. So, maybe they trade some of those for an NHL-ready guy like that down the road. Maybe it might not be today or tomorrow. It might be in the offseason, might be not at all, might be next year. It's just kind of thinking that, you don't want to have 5 first-round picks within a 3-year span to be able to have to sign. That will be a lot of money, especially if some of these guys pan out. Some of these guys end up better than what we think. So it is an interesting situation to see if the Blackhawks will do anything with these first round picks, even in the second round picks as well. I'm not excluding those. They're still valuable too. They have a lot of assets in both of those rounds over the next 3 seasons and beyond. So it just kind of brings interest or something in my mind to see if Kyle Davidson will initiate something along the lines of that. Obviously, I don't think that would happen this year just because they're still trying to get as bad as possible. Losing more players this deadline will only make them worse, which is probably what they're looking for. So it'll be just interesting to see what they do, if anything else arises from this NHL trade deadline. If anything comes out of this, that we hear they were in talks with someone that may happen in the offseason. No, we've seen that a lot over the past few years as well. So, we'll be keeping up to date with all of it. There's a lot of stuff that is going to be interesting to see when this deadline is over. Even, that's when we all get all the news about these people were talking to this team is talking about this guy. So we'll see if anything like that comes out of this near the end of the deadline. But if this is it for the Blackhawks, I gotta say, better than I thought. There's not much we can really say about that.
We'll be pretty active on Twitter as well. I've kind of taken over Twitter and sort of tweeting it when stuff happens. So, I mean, if you guys want to keep in the know and keep up to date on everything going on as well, follow us on Twitter, and we'll try to get it to you as quick as possible as well. Yep. Just had to throw that in there. Sorry.
Yeah, the link's in the description there if you want to go check that out. So, now that's all we got, though. Make sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. If you want to see all the news regarding the Blackhawks and anything that comes up, we'll have it here as soon as possible. That's all we got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.